with the recording in progress notification. So again, Coalition does a lot of work with a lot of different e-commerce platforms. We're a long-standing partner of Shopify. We're a Shopify Plus agency. And a lot of times we don't feel the need post Unite to really focus in on some upgrade opportunities, because a lot of the announcements are, honestly, a little bit smaller. But 2021 was pretty different, and we were really excited by some of the things that we saw come out. One of the big things that we really liked was sort of the announcement around Shopify's Online Store 2.0 or OS 2.0. And we'll talk about some of the specific details there and demo them again as we work through the webinar. I would really quickly highlight before I go too much further, I want to mention, if you are participating today, you have a specific question, you'd like us to repeat ourselves, you'd like us to clarify a point, use the Q&A function in Zoom. We'll be able to respond to you there. And we can also follow up post call and conversation directly with you, just to make sure that your questions are answered. So today we're going to cover the biggest updates that happened to Shopify's themes. Which of those updates are most valuable for Shopify store owners, management teams, marketing teams, developers? We're also going to talk about the concept of hydrogen and oxygen, not what we're breathing, but talking about what they mean to Shopify. And we also are going to talk about some of the security and performance changes that really do add value to Shopify store owners or brands that are considering Shopify as the next iteration of their platform. So kind of jumping into our content today, there are a couple of really big things that we saw Shopify announce, and Amin will be kind enough to demo for me here momentarily. As part of the Online Store 2.0 launch, we saw a improvement to the management of Shopify templates and themes through the online administrative side editor. If you are not a developer, Shopify is looking at advancing towards maybe a low code or no code experience for more and more advanced themes, which is really exciting. We also saw that demoed inside of some new base themes that are available in the Shopify theme store. And these really do create opportunities to have a faster Shopify store. One of the things we've seen is there's been a big emphasis on Core Web Vitals for a lot of brands over the last 12 months, is that Shopify is really not a high performance, fast platform to work with, in part because of its theme and its framework. And Shopify is working to correct that with some of these announcements. So Amin, I would love to turn it over to you for a demo, and maybe you can walk us through some of what you saw as bigger changes, more meaningful changes for Shopify merchants.
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed insight, Jordan. So yeah, everyone can see my screen, I hope. So this
we've got it.
Yeah, great. So I am into the themes currently. You can see here that I have the Dawn theme installed, and this is the old theme as well. So we will, in our upcoming demos, we will be actually comparing both of these themes. But one of the recent update which they have done, Shopify has done, is the improvement to their customizer section. So earlier we just used to have only left section in the customizer, but now you can see that it is a bit more changed now. You can add more section, which we come to explain that later. But so now you can create the templates from here itself. You can create the templates. You can also have you can select the components and then add it on the right side. So it will give you a bit more flexibility to select different components at the same time, so you don't really have to do a lot of scrolling and everything. So yeah, this is one of the update which they made into their customizer, and it is available within the older themes as well, because it's basically throughout the Shopify framework update.
So real quickly, we're in the Dawn theme now. Dawn is the new Shopify framework theme that they're sort of using as their common starting point. We refer to these as skeleton themes sometimes, where they're sort of useful in creating a building point. Debut was the old skeleton theme that Shopify would recommend that you begin with if you're doing some custom theming. And in the old user interface editor, we didn't have nearly as many sections available to us, which again, you mentioned we'll be talking about a little bit momentarily. But we also had to go through a more rigorous process if we were going to create new templates. So in the current one, I can just go to the drop down at the top, and I can choose to create a new template based off of another template that already exists. And I don't have to touch code. Is that correct?
Yeah. Now earlier we needed to go to the code section here to create the templates, but now actually I can simply create the templates within the customizer. So which is kind of a bit more improvement, I would say. Easy to make the changes. Merchants can do it easily. Yeah.
So basically, once a template has been created, that's now accessible to a merchant. A merchant doesn't have to actually go in and start working through their theme.liquid files at all. They are really just able to take the template that's present, make essentially a duplicate of it, and begin to modify that with sections and other functionality.
Yeah, now, that's I think I'll explain the sections now. So I think the reason and how it is basically beneficial that when we create these templates, that let's say, I'll go to one of the pages. So yeah, I have created all these templates, but I can create one more. And you can see like which template I want to choose, because these are the pre-created template pages, which I did that. So I'll say that, test demo. Now, so this is our new template, and I can add any of the sections here. So earlier in the past, I had to create the template within the theme and then add the sections over there within the code, right? So that was a bit more difficult, but now it is pretty easy. I can just simply add the sections, add all the blocks and everything here. So this is a major update which Shopify did, not only about the customizer section and the having the sections everywhere, which is I think is very, very major update.
Okay, so sections previously, because we had sections before for debut and older versions, what Shopify is calling Online Store 1.0. First, maybe the question is, we had sections before. Where could we use sections in older Shopify themes?
Yeah, so the major upgrade which Shopify did now is that sections everywhere. That's how they're promoting it, and it is of course true as well. In the past, we had only sections available only on the home page, right? So we can definitely add different kind of sections, but the moment I go to the product template, I cannot, add those sections here now. Or even if I go to any pages or anything else, I cannot do that.
Okay, so if you're in the debut theme, you're on an older theme with Shopify, one of the big drawbacks still, without upgrading to the newer Online Store 2.0, is that sections are limited to the home page, and sections are reusable blocks of content and functionality that you can incorporate into any number of pages in theory, right? That's sort of the plus side of them, is I could add a group of my most recent blog posts, featured reviews, an image gallery, and I pretty simplistically can add them into any template now with the new sections everywhere sort of functionality. Is that right?
Yeah. Now we can create actually more like a storytelling product pages easily. We can create the landing pages for our PPC advertisement easily. So I just, I have actually created a demo here for PPC one. So yeah, it is more easy for us to create more, stylistic pages rather than relying on some of the, external apps, which are, can cause the page speed to be a bit slower. But yeah, this is, I think, very, very big improvement by Shopify, where we can create all these sections anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, we obviously are really fantastic at building Shopify themes. We also have a really big marketing focus here at Coalition. It's one of the things we're most known for. And one of the drawbacks with, Shopify and other SaaS platforms is they often sort of always feel templated, because your experiences on individual pages are usually fairly limited, unless you're, again, bringing in extensions or really relying on custom development. And so this section functionality and really enriching and enabling sections across multiple areas of a Shopify site really does, it makes it easier to manage the store, create sort of dynamic content experiences. Your product page can be less like a product page and more like a compelling pitch, a branded narrative around the product because of sections. As Aman's just demonstrating here, he's been able to add in sort of a large format image banner with text and with buttons, just simply by clicking and modifying his template that way. So it's pretty impressive. Anything else that you would highlight with sort of the new Dawn theme, with the new sections everywhere, the new template creation UI?
No, I think these are one of the major aspects in terms of creating section. The other updates are like, having a meta fields or dynamic population of the content. That is also a major improvement. But I think I would probably prefer to cover some of those topics that. So one is definitely, the update is sections everywhere, which we just provided a demo here. Another update is the meta fields. So now I think most of you who have used Shopify, you had to use an app for adding the meta fields. So I'll just go to the store admin. So basically meta fields are different content types which can be used to extend the information related to your product or any different type of the object that you have, like a variants, or they haven't released for collections yet, but hopefully it will be coming soon. So by default, Shopify has a very limited number of fields. Like, we can add a description, we can select product types and tags, etc. But if you want to add like a subtitle or short description or size chart or shipping policy or anything like that, it was not possible within the product dashboard itself by default. So you had to install an app like a meta field, or there are a number of apps available. So that, yeah, we had to go to this app section to set up that thing. But now Shopify has actually provided the meta fields as part of their store functionality. You can create any kind of meta field that you want. You can select different type, like color, and you can also create a relationship. You can select text type and all those things, and those will appear here within the product dashboard itself.
And those can be imported. Those can be accessed via API and other. So I think meta fields, I always hate some of these naming conventions that are sort of adopted from developers, because they don't necessarily help clarify. It's like headless. What does headless mean? Meta fields are really this opportunity for a store admin or a developer to create custom content fields for products. And again, as you highlighted, Shopify is promising to release meta fields more extensively throughout the store, but it really allows you to create a richer product page experience on the front end for customers that you can still manage coherently. A lot of the pushback and frustration we get from Shopify store owners is like, I have too many apps. I don't know which of these apps is generating which of this content on the front end. In theory, meta fields are really going to allow us to simplify that, simplify the maintenance of that, and create, again, these better product experiences, collection experiences, page experiences for customers. Is that pretty good summary?
Yeah. That's definitely explain everything about the meta field. But another aspect, which in terms of a customizer, we have seen here now that now we can actually populate the content dynamically. Okay, so apart from having the adding the video or images, etc., you can actually also populate the content dynamically, which is also another improvement by Shopify in terms of customizer. So of course I can add a static text here, but I can also populate this to be maybe a product subtitle. So that means whatever you add from the admin panel, from the product dashboard, it will appear here.
Yep, so you can see the static text that Aman added to the top, the subtitle down below. And so he's creating these meta fields on the fly, and dynamically, if basically whatever exists in a particular product, if it exists, it'll show up.
Yeah.
And you can think about sort of the value. Again, I think we work with a lot of fashion, beauty, jewelry brands, and they'll have different content needs. There can be some sizing guides, there can be fit guides, there can be featured reviews, there can be just sort of a range of things that we may want to include from a promotional or advertising standpoint. And so these metafields, the dynamically populating metafields, really do sort of, again, allow you to personalize the product experience based on its category, its audience, and that really is a big advancement. And I guess one of my questions there, and this is new, some of these things are not yet released, but I was curious, is this only available in Dawn and in Online Store 2.0, or can I add some of these things now in Debut?
Yeah, the meta fields are actually available in the older frameworks as well. So you can actually create meta fields, and then you will be able to display those meta fields, on the product or wherever is needed. The only difference will be that either we will have to create a settings within the theme, like a debut theme settings, or it will require something like a coding within the theme where we can put some condition that if the meta field is added, then it will show there. But yeah, in Dawn theme you have flexibility to move the things here and there, but in the older theme it will just show wherever you have the like fixed structure.
Okay, so Online Store 2.0 Dawn theme, which is sort of the framework theme for that, a lot easier to manage once the meta fields are built, styled, incorporated. Much easier from an administrative standpoint for a non-technical, non-dev person to play with them, turn them on, turn them off, populate them, modify which ones are showing, aren't showing. Older Debut theme, you have to do some work to start to incorporate those in, and you don't have sort of the same ease of administration that you do with the new Online Store 2.0 and with the new Dawn theme and Dawn framework. All right?
Yeah, I think that's a major period, yeah.
Okay. And then I guess any other highlights with the meta fields that you wanted to cover or think are important to be able to cover on that one before we move on to our second or third topic, actually?
Yeah, another aspect which we will also cover in the next topics as well, is that now meta fields are actually going to be used within the filters as well. So, which is, we will cover in the next topics. Okay.
All right, so I'll real quickly share my screen just to make sure we cover a couple of those bullets that we've got. We've already touched on the meta fields and some of the functionality we have that's this point here. But one of the big ones and one of the ones that a lot of stores should be pretty pleased with is the introduction of filtering by Shopify. So for the last 10 years, Amin and I have been raising our hand in every possible product roadmap call with the Shopify team and asking them for filtering. If you run a store today, one of your biggest extension price inclusions is likely filtering. You probably pay as much for a filtering app as you do for Shopify in a lot of instances, maybe excluding some of their payment take. But filtering has just been a big pain point and a big limitation, kind of an embarrassment in my mind for Shopify against some of the other platforms. And so Shopify has finally launched product filtering and collection filtering, which potentially is a big cost savings and also potentially a big performance upgrade for merchants. So Amin, you want to walk us through that demo on the filtering experience, how that works, and maybe highlight some of the pros and cons of this versus like a search spring or something else that is available in the market right now.
Yeah. So basically, how we can access the filters currently is we go to the online store, we go to navigation, and then where we manage the menus, there will be another section called collection and search filters. And here you can add filters as desired. So currently the filters are based on the product options, and now recently, I think just a few days ago, or maybe they released that we can also add the filters based on the meta fields. So we can select which filters we want to show here. So currently I have selected some of the like a price filter and all those things, and then we have product options, and then we have meta fields and material. So you have full control which you want to show and hide, and then these will appear like this way. I mean, of course, we can change their
so we can style presentation, because I know most of the time I see filtering, it's in a left-hand sidebar versus a sort of vertical at the top of the page and running horizontally.
Yeah, of course, we can change the UI as desired, but you can see here it is pretty faster. It is not doing any request to any third party server. Like, there are apps which we have to get the product listing from third party, and then it also has other complications because now the product section, or these sections are being rendered from Shopify, so it is easy to customize. Like, you have a subscription app, or you want to show the installment payment section within this section or somewhere. This will be much more easier. You don't have to be like in a restricted within the third-party app environments.
Yeah. So highlighting a couple of those things. So one of the big drawbacks we found is we were doing speed tests, speed improvements for our clients to help hit core web vitals and just frankly make better experiences. We found not only were Shopify themes slow, it was also a problem where most Shopify merchants are using between 12 and 17 extensions per store. And so you mentioned sort of there's external servers involved. If it's a small app provider, they may not have the best hosting environment that's providing the most optimized code and response times. And so part of the reason you get a slow score as a Shopify store owner is because of the apps that you're using. And so being able to internalize this to Shopify does help improve the speed. You mentioned sort of the customization of the pages. A lot of our merchants who work with SearchSpring or others will have seen sort of the timelines where they have to have their collection page redesigned and rebuilt by the advanced search provider because of their dependency on that filtering function to make that page experience good. Now there is some limitations with this, right? So there is some ways that this breaks and just doesn't function on the front end. And what is that?
Yeah, I think currently what the limit is that if a particular collection has products more than 1,000, then the filters don't appear. So yeah, that is kind of a limitation is available. Is currently we have within Shopify. I think they're already working toward to resolve it. Of course, Shopify is a pretty big platform. So another benefit I would say here with the filters is that earlier we used to do the filtration using tags. Okay, like we can create the tags here, and it will we can definitely customize the themes, and we can filter those things. But the problem with the tag is that of course it is a page refresh, but also it was causing duplicate content from the SEO perspective as well. So but yeah, I think with the filters it is more faster. I mean, the new launch is more faster, and it is also remove your dependency from the third-party apps provider, and also it is beneficial from the SEO perspective as well.
Yeah, definitely want to do that. All right, so I think we'll jump to point 3 in our presentation. Real quickly, again, if you are joining us, we had a couple more people actually join in the last few minutes here. Do use the question and answer function. We'll continue to monitor that throughout the call, and we'll try to steer the conversation towards your questions if they're helpful, and if not, we'll be able to answer them after the call. We can get in touch with you specifically for those things. Now, one of the other things that I saw that you mentioned as being a really big highlight, Amin, you were pretty excited about as a developer, and I know a lot of our clients will be excited about as a result of the consequences, is the ability to integrate apps into themes without coding. And so kind of talk us through what's the problem was maybe before, what some of the issues we saw were before, and how this new functionality is solving for that. So I'll let you go to the demo, Amin, and maybe you can walk us through that. And you're on mute, Amin.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah. Earlier in the debut theme, what we used to do is we had to add the codes within the theme files to make the apps work, right? Or also there are basically 2 types of installation happens by the apps. One is manual, another is automated. So when it was an automated installation, the apps will automatically add the liquid files or code within their theme.liquid or other files.
So basically, I install an app, all of a sudden I get a bunch of extra code just thrown into my theme.
Yeah, and you don't know if that app will work for you or not, right? So that is also another problem. Like if you uninstall that app, the code will be sometimes still there. Like you're testing different product options app, and you haven't decided which one to go with, and they will be messing up with their code a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And how often, I mean, so how often is there really good documentation about where they make the install to? I mean, before, because I think one of the issues was we'd get asked by a client like, hey, we want to try this theme. We saw a competitor do that spinning wheel thing for rewards on their homepage. We want to do something similar. There's an installation process. Things seem to work on the homepage, but then there's a break someplace else. And then we've got to go basically hunting, right? We're kind of digging, trying to figure out why this thing broke, what was the cause. And that really was a big problem on that side of things, right?
Yeah, I think this is that in it all. Yeah, that is one definitely big problem, that the app compatibilities within each other. Like for example, you're installing an app, and if the app is actually adding the code itself, it may break the thing. And also, even if you have uninstalled the app, the code will be still there. And sometimes it's also a security issue, which we will also cover in the next slides as well. But now what Shopify has done is that you can actually, once the app is installed, the apps will have some of the, like a UI component on the customizer section here, where you can, add the app, like app block or something like that. Okay. So in this way, you don't really have to, you can, just use the drag and drop feature similarly to show it on the particular, what's the debut theme? Sorry.
There you go. This is the importance of upgrading. It makes it easier if you're in the Dawn theme.
Yeah. So you can actually, add any kind of a block here, like how you're currently doing the drag and drop. So let's say if you're on a product page, I haven't installed the app yet, but basically what will happen is there will be additional availability. You can see here the app section. So those blocks will be available within the customizer. Okay. And once the app is uninstalled, those blocks will be removed as well. So that means your theme will not have unnecessary code within your, which will be, you're not using it. So yeah, that's a big benefit in terms of, of course, unnecessary code. And yeah.
Cool. And so like example, maybe today you install one review generation app. Maybe you're switching to Yotpo, or you're switching away from Yotpo. And you could have that code after you've disabled the app, removed it from your store. That code could just persist on your product pages and could be contributing to what's slowing down your store. And again, in the case of maybe an irresponsible app provider, it could be a security vulnerability into your store. It could be a point of injection. We've actually seen that happen where Shopify itself is very secure, but maybe apps are not as secure, and those become sort of areas that leak out. And so this allows us to provide a cleaner code experience. And again, from an administration standpoint, if I'm doing something like reviews, I want to have a featured review block on a page, just a page that I'm creating as a landing page. I potentially have the ability to go in to the template editor and easily add in these app blocks to my page, and essentially no code my design for some of this functionality once it's been styled appropriately, right?
Yeah, there's the styling, of course, will be still maintained by, within the CSS. Mostly the styling will also be, is available within this within the app section as well. But here you can enable, disable, you can change the positioning, and of course, you don't really have to go into the code section to make those changes. Yeah, I'll touch base on the security point here in more detail. So one of the incident we have faced in the past, that even though like you have a Shopify website which is pretty secure, but if you are using an app which is maybe not from a very trusted provider, and those apps are actually adding additional kind of a third-party script on your website, and you have actually uninstalled the app because you didn't like it or whatever the reason will be, but that code still exists in the website, and which is of course making the third-party request, which is causing your page speed slower. And also, if that app developer is not maintaining that app anymore, their server can be hacked, or whatever those security loopholes can arise, and those things can affect your store as well. So that's a big issue, I would say. But I think with this app blocks, it will be pretty good now that if you remove the app, the code will be removed as well.
Yeah, and Shopify is putting a big emphasis on curating its app store. For a long time, it was sort of this blind brag of like, we've got 12,000 apps, but most of them, we have no idea what they do. We don't really care because it's an advertising point. There's a lot of duplicate apps, a lot of unsupported apps, a lot of liability apps out there. But today there's some effort to clean up. And even if they're not going to clean up the app store fully, there is an effort to allow store owners to have more say in what's happening as a consequence of using an app, and making some of the process of managing those a bit more logical. All right, so I think that I'll do a screen share. We'll move to point 4 and kind of look at some of the items that we have kind of to close out the conversation today. Again, if you have a question, please do post it to Q&A, especially as we get closer to some of the wrap-up items, and we'll be done by 11:45 as promised. So one of the other big areas of update was improving the checkout experience. Software as a service e-commerce platforms have really been known for having more limited and sort of more bland checkout experiences compared to some of the custom ones you might see on a bigger e-commerce site. And so Shopify has launched checkout experiences which can be enhanced using apps. And what are some of the potential use cases you see for that?
Yeah. Earlier, Shopify checkout was only customizable in a Shopify Plus level store.
Right. That's true too.
Yeah. But now, and all those other plans, we were not able to customize very much, apart from a bit of the styling. But now, actually, Shopify has released checkout extensions, which are UI extension and post-purchase extensions. So that means you can, add a different kind of messaging. You can style your different section of the checkout, as well as also, create some upsells. And let's say you want to show a post-purchase survey, or you want to have put something like a donation or any kind of messaging once user place the order. So you can add those kind of things within your checkout. So yeah, this is currently in a beta, I think currently the post-purchase checkout, and the UI extensions are rolled out, but it is not available too much yet. Not too many apps are developed yet. But yeah, I think this will be a pretty good improvement. Everyone has been wanting to customize the checkout for a pretty long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And then I think the fifth thing we were going to highlight was the integration and improvement to Shop Pay and some of its functionality. So Shop Pay Installments is Shopify's branded installment product, right? I mean, we have a couple of pretty popular ones we use. What do we use most frequently these days?
Yeah, so we use Affirm, and we use Klarna payments and all those things. Yeah.
Okay. And so is this actually been built by Shopify, or are they sort of co-opting someone else's product?
They're actually, I think now they're going with Affirm actually. So
Okay.
basically behind the scene it is Affirm, but yeah, maybe more strongly integrated within Shopify now.
Yep. From a perspective standpoint, one of the reasons Shopify hasn't invested as much in its e-commerce platform really up until recently has been there's a lot more money in payments. And so we've seen a lot more additions of functionality and extension of what payments can do, Shop Pay can do for merchants. So this was a good year. We've covered a lot just about the platform, but we'll probably continue to see a lot of investment in making Shop Pay a robust end-to-end payment solution, because again, it's a really rich area for Shopify to develop on. A lot easier to get a merchant to spend more or transact more through Shop Pay than it is to sign up new merchants necessarily to use Shopify as a whole. And so this gives us the installment option. It's only available right now to US merchants, and there's limitations between $50 and $100 or $50 and $1,000 is sort of the cap. And there was some limitations, right, Aman, for certain product categories.
Yeah, I think it is not available to some of the high risk payment, product categories yet.
Okay, so things like alcohol, CBD, and cannabis, I think there's some more restrictions on their ability to use that. And then also, I think there's been some improved opportunities for more payment methods through Shopify's native checkout experience. So there is support for more localized payment providers, especially if you're focusing on international audiences, which again has been a big point of focus for Shopify's investment over the last couple of years. And I think from a technical perspective, one of the things that we were pretty excited about was the launch of storefront APIs. And can you kind of talk a little bit about why this is a big deal and how you see this being used by Shopify merchants now and later?
Yeah, I mean, Shopify API earlier, we had an Ajax API, but now Shopify is actually investing more and more in terms of a GraphQL API, which will allow us, or you can also call it storefront API. So it will allow us to develop the headless store, more easily. Like, for example, we have some of the limitations within the Shopify platform, UI components or whatever those limitations will be, and you want to get away from the Shopify environment. Of course, you want to use the Shopify for the product management or security, checkout experience and everything. But the UI components, you want to develop everything on your own. So in that aspect, this, the storefront API are pretty great. It's pretty fast as well, I would say. So then you can just, develop your whole custom, store within using the headless approach. Yeah.
So I think we've seen this, probably the most popular use cases, content-driven commerce experiences. So publishers who are integrating buying functionality into their videos, blogs, editorial articles. You have a site that is really about great content and less about the commerce piece. So headless is really popular there, and storefront APIs allow for a faster and more well-supported functionality on that side of things. A couple of other things, probably not as big of a deal, but worth sort of noting. Shopify has integrated Handshake more meaningfully into the Shopify store administrative experience. From a consulting perspective, a lot of our merchants are considering supply chain and logistics issues heading into this sort of key selling season. So Handshake provides some specific opportunities for them to either list their products to sell as a wholesaler, or as a retailer, you have the opportunity to purchase from other Shopify supported wholesalers. And so it creates essentially this sort of integrated way of potentially solving for some logistic problems that you could face. We've talked to some of our merchants about having substitute products that they're able to purchase from other merchants as sort of a fill while they're waiting for some supply chain items. We've seen some merchants use these as a way to build out better cross-sell and upsell functionality for their stores. So, giving them the chance to sort of say like, hey, we already sell shoes, might as well sell some socks and maybe sell some sneaker cleaner and sell some of these other things which we maybe don't carry. Handshake can provide the opportunity to get connected in there. And then I think we were going to wrap in with a quick conversation on hydrogen and oxygen and some of the security and performance impacts that are out there. So maybe you can touch on those.
Yeah, so they are releasing this service or product, I would say, in November, December this year. So they haven't provided too much detail, but basically what Shopify is trying to do is, yes, Shopify does have its own theme development, as a theme customizer or theme liquid files and everything. But the hydrogen and oxygen, this platform will actually allow developers and merchants to develop their own custom storefronts using the storefront API, using the headless approach, and it will be actually hosted within the Shopify environment. So you will have, of course, the additional security layer and uptime guarantee and, the build process easily within the Shopify. But yeah, it will be like, Shopify is trying to capture the market as much as possible. Like there's definitely quite a bit of a hype going on with the headless commerce, which gives you more, I wouldn't say security completely, but in terms of fast speed and all those things. But yeah, so Shopify is trying to capture that market as well to make sure everything is within the Shopify ecosystem. Yeah,
it was a real weakness for them. And I know BigCommerce and a few other platforms are really eating Shopify's lunch on sort of the headless efforts. All right, so a couple of recap items here. We'll wrap up at 11:45. Reasons to upgrade. New online store 2.0 makes it a lot easier for you and your team to maintain and edit your themes and your templates. Once the sort of the native styling and build is done, quite a bit easier for you to create new templates, modify them with the new sections functionality. I incorporate meta fields, which really do open up a lot of possibilities for merchants with more complex selling needs. We've really loved BigCommerce as a competitor to Shopify for a lot of merchants because it had more functionality here. And so meta fields really does enrich the Shopify page experience, especially when we look at sort of the need to kind of customize the e-commerce experience for a unique audience or business. The new integration of apps and the ability to remove apps without having that legacy code left over. Improvements to your checkout experience, and then some enhancements to payment and checkout associated to online store 2.0. So that's the sort of the key 5 reasons. We did highlight this in our outbound email campaigns. We do have a limited time offer for those of you who attended or were on the recipient list here. We have $1,000 off of Shopify theme upgrade packages. So if you want to talk about what that would look like and get a quote, do email us at sales@coalitiontechnologies.com with the subject line Shopify upgrade package. I do have a couple of questions left. We will respond to you directly, just so you don't feel like those got lost. And so if we weren't able to address that in the course of the call today, I will make sure we touch base with you then. Thank you all for joining. We really appreciated your time, and we're glad to communicate with you. If you have any other content or questions you'd like us to cover, we've got a great team here. Would love to listen to you on those and certainly put together some educational material like this. So feel free to reach out if you have any ideas of things you think would be helpful for other merchants. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.